All right, hey, what's going on? It's the Bearded One back at you again with a new video. Hey, so in today's video, we are with Miss Shauna Thompson with Future Home Loans, and we're going to talk about first-time home buyers. You'll notice that we're doing things a little bit different today. We just passed the Hurricane Helen or Helene. I don't know.
Helen? Yeah,
Helen. So
Mhm.
it is Friday after the hurricane has passed, so we're doing things a little bit different just because of what happened. We didn't sustain any major damage, but we want to keep it safe, so we're going to stay at home today and shoot today's video. So stick around to learning the 5 things first-time home buyers mistakes that they make. All right? Be right back. All right, so let's get into today's video. So today, 5 first-time home buyers mistakes. Will you introduce yourself really quick for the people?
Oh, sorry. I'm Shauna Thompson, mortgage broker with Future Home Loans. It is so weird. This setting is so weird.
Yes, because you really have to look into the camera. Yes.
Like you look like I'm looking at you.
You can't look at the screen. You gotta look into the camera.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we have Miss Shauna Thompson, Future Home Loans. So Shauna, we got a lot of buyers that's looking to get into the market right now. What are some of the mistakes you've seen? We're talking about 5 mistakes first-time home buyers make. Let's talk about the first one. What is the biggest one you've seen?
So the first one I would definitely say is not getting pre-approved.
Gotcha.
That would definitely be the first one I would say. It's just important to know how much you can afford and how much you can shop for. So I think that's the first mistake. And people just generally just kind of go on Zillow and do all the things, and they say, hey, I think I can afford this based on my rent or something like that. So definitely important to get the pre-approval for sure.
Gotcha. Really quick, let's stop it right here for a second. I just want to talk about getting a pre-approval. So what does that require for them to get a pre-approval so people know what they need to do?
So you definitely want to talk to your mortgage professional, do an application, even if they do like a soft pull or a hard credit pull on your credit report. But it essentially it gives us the bigger picture of how long you've been on your job, how much you're making on your job, how long you've been in the home that you're in, if you're renting or not renting. We need to see all of that to make sure that we have to pull the credit, make sure that things on your credit report that need to be in line with the program, and just make sure that everything fits before we can give you that pre-approval.
Okay, perfect. So what would you say is number 2 thing?
Number 2 would be not thinking about the cost. So like if your down payment and your closing cost, people are not thinking about those things and how much it really does play a part in your home buying journey for sure.
Now let's hold here for a second. So we talked about the cost. So we're going to kind of break it up a little bit because I want to talk specifically because loans are different. So let's start out with FHA. Now, FHA has to pay a down payment. How much is that?
That's for your first time home buyer. That's going to be 3.5%.
3.5% down. And closing costs are included in addition to that down payment.
In addition. Yep. So we want to say somewhere between 3% for that too, conservatively.
So all in all, we're talking somewhere between 6 to 7% for the amount of the house they want to buy, which includes down payment plus closing costs.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk more about conventional. So how much would a person need to have down payment for conventional?
So your first time home buyer is going to look at 3% for that.
3%. Gotcha. So, and then we're talking another 3% for closing costs. So we're talking still the same 6 to 7%. Gotcha. Now, and then let's go into the VA loan. So now VA, a little bit different. There's no down payment.
Correct.
But they still have to pay closing costs.
Correct.
Gotcha. And we're still talking this somewhere between 3 to 4% for closing costs.
Correct. Yes.
Gotcha. Now, just really quickly, she talked about a lot of things from the lender standpoint. I just want to briefly talk about certain things from a realtor standpoint, because a lot of people don't realize you have to put down a minor deposit, which is usually 1% of the purchase price. 2, you have to pay for inspections. You have to pay for WDO if needed. You have to pay for an appraisal. So all those things have to be paid for up front. So that's another thing that people don't understand they have to pay for when it comes to purchasing a home, and they're getting a little sticker shock when they realize those things come out of pocket and it can't be added to the closing costs because those are third-party vendors who will have to get paid when their services are done.
Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So now we've talked about getting pre-approved. Next thing we talked about was actually figuring out how much money they need for closing costs and down payment, and then the other incidentals. Now, what's the next thing?
Next one would be, there's so many that you can choose from.
Most common, I would say.
Most common. I would say check your credit. I would
Mm.
say check your credit. You get one free credit report every year. I suggest you pull it from all three bureaus, freecreditreport.com, and just look over it. Look over it and see what is reporting that's impacting you and what's not reporting, or whatever the case may be. Like what's hindering you, and what could hinder you from stopping it. Doesn't necessarily give you the score, so you don't expect the score itself, but at
Hmm.
least it'll tell you what is reporting on your credit report that you can actually work on, and to see, like, okay, or you can even let your mortgage professional know, hey, I pulled my one free credit report, there's something on there, what should I do, or what do you think I should do? Is it going to stop me, or is it not going to stop me? So I think that that's something that a lot of people don't take advantage of, but they definitely should.
Okay. All right. And then fourth, what do you think the fourth thing is most common?
I would probably go with
So
job history, job
job
title.
history.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
tell us about that. What are the requirements for a job?
So you have to be in a job you have to have work
Work
history for 2 years. It doesn't
2
necessarily have to
years.
be your job itself, but you do have to have some work history for 2 years
Gotcha.
consistently.
Consistent
Okay.
work for 2 years.
Consistent work for 2 years. Yep.
Now, for doing COVID, is there an exemption for that for those people who weren't working during the COVID timeframe, or how does that work with the
Yeah, so normally we could, not normally, in some instances, we can ask for a letter of explanation of what happened. If there was that gap in employment, we could say, hey, okay, can you provide us a letter of what happened during that time? And we can submit that to our underwriter and they can make that decision. So that's something that's an option too, because that did happen quite a bit. So as long as there's an understanding of what happened and an understanding of, okay, now they're back working, they have some flow, then we can normally get around that.
Got you. Now, is there any limitations on that as far as how long of a time? Because let's talk real kind of normal now, because we're going to
Mhm,
2025.
mhm.
Normal situation, someone gets laid off and they're out of work for 6 months to a year. Is there an explanation that you can give as a potential buyer for that, or there's no exceptions with that one?
Yeah, it all depends. I mean, like I said, it's if you can come up, it's really a compelling if you can come up and with your letter and say, hey, I got laid off, and
Gotcha.
I've been working, I've been making, but even still, if it like, are you asking in a form of they're not working now or they're back working?
They're back working, but they had a
Okay.
gap in employment. Yes.
Yeah, so if they're back working, then yeah, we could say, okay, there was a letter, they have a letter of explanation of what happened during that time, but they're back working now, they're receiving income payments, things like that. So
Got you.
yeah.
And
Now
then
I
when
will
you
say, go ahead. You go
now
ahead.
go ahead.
Okay. I just want to touch on part-time employment as well. So if you just started a job that's part-time, we still have to have the 2 years of history for that. So if you can have that income coming in and that's great, but we wouldn't be able to count it as income for the application because we need 2 years of part-time history.
Got you. And really briefly, just want to know, I'd like to shoot another video on this piece right here. How do side hustles, because we all have a side hustle. Most people have side hustles. How does that factor into purchasing a home?
So it does have to have positive income producing, right? So if you're going to
Gotcha.
file it on your taxes, it has to have positive. After all your deductions and everything like that, we have to have positive flow. We can't have negative
Mhm.
flow or else that's going to impact you. So positive flow is what we really want to do, and make sure that you have your documentation proving that you have your side hustle or whatever case may be. So you're filing your taxes, or it's being deposited into the bank properly. But just making sure that when you're doing your taxes and you want to talk to your tax professional on how you can do your deductions, to make sure that it's in a more positive flow than a negative.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
And then last but not least, what's the fifth mistake?
I would probably say co-signing for someone. I think that's
Okay.
a huge mistake. Or even just taking out a loan in general, or running up the credit cards. We're in
Mm,
a very expensive time right now, so people are
yeah.
living on credit cards and things like that. But
Hmm.
just making sure that, if you have to co-sign for someone, make sure that you take that in consideration, into account, that that's going to be reflected on your payment history, right? So even if that person is making the payment and you're not, we still have to take that in consideration, because what if that person stops making payments? The car company is going to come after you. So,
True.
or even if you have to use credit cards, which a lot of people do have to use credit cards right now, let's just make sure that you're paying that down so that you can free up the ability to purchase more on your home.
Gotcha. All right. Well, you've heard it here first. I'm not telling you, the lender's telling you what the 5 mistakes are. So anything else you want to tell the people before we wrap up today's video?
Yeah, really quick, if we want to touch on a VA mistake, the
Yes.
veterans and the VA mistakes, I would definitely say make sure that you apply for your disability so that you can take advantage of any programs or any opportunities that it does come with when you have disability, tax exempts and entitlements and things like that.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I don't have anything else for you. How can people reach you?
So my email is shauna@future.loans and my Instagram is Shauna Home Loans. So
Shauna
feel
Home
free to
Loans.
reach out to me.
Absolutely. Reach out to her. She'll give you the answers. She'll definitely give you the answers. Let's just say it like that. All right. So that's all I have for today. Top 5 mistakes you make when first time home buyer. So if you have any further questions, get with Shauna, get with myself, and we can help you out to purchase that new home. All right. So that's all we have for today. I am the bearded one, and I'll see you next video.